All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to our holiday meet and greet and our final presentation of the year. So I put together just a few slides just to kind of reflect over the year, remind everybody what we have been doing, try to inspire you for what we could do for the next year. All right, I'd like to start with our sponsors and our premier sponsor this year. Lior from Frontegg would like to say a few words about Frontegg, and we very much want to thank her and the team here at Frontegg for all the food, not only for this event, for prior events. We love it, and thank you, Lior. Take it away.
Hey, everybody. Hope you're enjoying the food and drinks, and most importantly, the great company here. Appreciate you coming here from wherever in the area you are. A little bit about Frontegg. So Frontegg is a customer identity management platform, which means that everything from your login boxes to your authorization, once you're in whatever system it is, Frontegg ensures that only the people who should be accessing and are authorized to view different parts of our customers' platforms can view that. So what that means is everything from MFA to SSO to more advanced capabilities that support multiple tenants. So a lot of B2B. What's unique about us, so our main competitor is somebody you probably all know, Okta, Auth0. What's unique about us is that we offer low code capabilities that are also highly advanced. So many companies out there that do identity management are either low code and simplify identity management, or they're more complex, but they rely heavily on APIs and custom coding. So we combine the best of both worlds, where we're both low code, but also support advanced use cases. Particularly, we support B2B SaaS companies who are looking to secure their tenant systems. So that's us in a nutshell. Integration super fast, very easy at the pace that the engineering team wants. And we actually are moving more towards a model where different teams besides engineering can actually pull the lever on many different aspects of identity management that support their needs. So product might want to support certain capabilities, or even customer success teams might want to have more influence on identity management that pertains to them. So they can actually go in the system, often using natural language or AI. They can operate a lot of the user management aspects that have up until now been in the domain of IT and engineering. So that's us in a nutshell. We're rated #1 customer identity platform, especially in terms of ease of use on G2. So if anyone else has any questions, or anyone can join for free. If you'd like to explore it, just go to frontegg.com. You can join for free. Sign up, play with the system if you're ever in the market for a customer identity management solution. Thank you, guys. Enjoy.
Why is it called Frontegg?
The million-dollar question. I wish our CEO wasn't in a meeting right now.
Why is it called Frontegg?
Why is it called Frontegg? So I will give the answer that my CEO just gave us a week ago. So the idea is that front is what ultimately is being experienced by the end user. So the end user who has to, let's say, do SSO or do multi-factor authentication to get into their system. This is the user experience, the beautiful UI, the clean interface that the end user experiences. That's the front end part. And the egg represents the hatching of an app. So we allow our engineering teams to get back to developing their core applications faster. So they can hatch their stuff faster instead of spending their time on identity management, which is not anybody's main occupation. We do it for you out of the box so you can get back to what you care about.
What's the relationship between egg and the
Available domain name? I'm kidding. I see, it would kill me. What is the relationship between the front and the egg?
no, the egg and the customer? What egg has to do with
Yeah, well, the egg is the hatching that comes out of the egg. So the app that engineers can hatch, they can good, that's what the engineer really cares about, is developing their app, but they can't develop their app unless they have identity management components from login to SSO already there, so they can hatch their app faster. The development cycle is accelerated when they have identity management out of the box rather than developing it in-house or relying on open source.
Egg is healthy too.
Exactly. That is true. That is true. We are a healthy platform.
All right, well, thank you, Leo. Round of applause. Thank you, Frontegg. We love it. Thank you for hosting us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leo.
Thank you very much.
Okay, our second sponsor, near and dear to my heart, is RXM, where I work for financial support. If you're interested in training around cloud native tech, machine learning, AI, of course, please check us out. And I'm around if you'd like to talk about that. All right, now, the point of this presentation. A couple of things I wanted to just highlight here. So the first thing is you're not meant to actually read it. Yeah, I felt really accomplished when I learned how to control the width of the bullets. Feel like I've unlocked a new master's degree figuring that one out. And so what I wanted to show is, and you can get all this information on our meetup site, but I just want to show the variety of things that this group does. And to be very clear, while I may be part of, a member of our board now, this has been going on for a long time. Today's quiz for anyone who's new: when did our chapter start?
10 years. I have been here more than 10 years with Martin.
Okay, more than 10 years?
Yeah, with Martin, right, Martin?
Any other guesses?
15 years.
I got 15. I wish I could do the auction voice. 15, anyone got 20, 20.
I think it was more than 15.
Close.
47 was the,
A little higher, but in the
no, wasn't that the main ACM?
yes, the main ACM was then. So 1957, this chapter. So, and events have been going on, we'll just say nonstop since then. And we can thank computer science for that. And so a couple other things I would like to highlight here is just the variety of talks. A lot of course, this past year has been around AI. We've had other events. You can see our poster there in the back. In fact, I have extra ones here for anyone who wants it, from Global Encryption Day. That was a partnership with the Internet Society. But we've also had other partnerships. We recently had one with the Silicon Valley Young Scholars, who Catherine is the leader, just left to go teach a class. Good luck to her students. But that group, the presenter, Claire, was 15 years old, right? Did an 8-month study. Most adults have never done that. So there's a lot of smart, a lot of hardworking at all age and locations in this community, and it's part of the beauty of being in Silicon Valley. Another thing to notice, a little hard to see here, is just the variety of locations we have been at. Most nonprofit groups, not only the SF Bay ACM, have trouble finding a home for any duration of time, especially when you're trying to do it on the cheap. We have been lucky, and we have actually been across many locations, and that's through a lot of effort, through a lot of our members. All right, so again, just want to say thank you to everybody. That includes the members, that includes the council. I'd like to thank our hosts here. Hopefully I did not miss anybody. These are just the hosts from this year. Right, so there's quite a variety of locations we have been at, and groups we have been working with. So Carl, who's remote, who's also in SIGGRAPH, thank you very much for all the things you have done, and to other societies as well. We're always looking for more volunteers. It is the holidays, so we expect people to kind of cool off for the next few weeks, but coming in January, we want to hit the ground running. So if you're ready to volunteer and participate, we have events coming up, and we could use your help. And if you want to do something new that we have not done, please propose it. Here's a collage just from the meetups of the variety of things we have done. And again, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It makes my time fun here, and hopefully we'll do that again this next year. All right, so that brings us to our presentation for tonight. All right, Professor Artem formerly of Stanford as a student and now as a fellow, will be talking about AI-enabled platforms around science. Please give us a little.
I think that's my cue
Yeah.
to start talking.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will not take up a full long time. It's holiday party, so I'm gonna keep it short, and I appreciate being called a professor. Not there yet, but maybe one day. But I was asked to kind of talk a little bit more about the applications of AI in the space of biology. So you guys are all esteemed and very knowledgeable about AI and the technicalities around what's going on the computer science front. And so I'm not going to drill down deep into any of that. I'm just going to show you kind of what we're doing at my startup and what the broader implications around my work are in the scope of AI meets biology. So a little bit about myself. I did my PhD work at Stanford in biomedical engineering, did my master's in computer science there as well, did a bachelor's in biological sciences at Davis. My PhD work was focused on smart bandages for wound care. So we developed devices that you put on your skin to be able to see there. Okay, I can turn this. No, not really. Smart bandages for wound care to put on someone's skin and then detect what's going on with their skin through temperature and impedance in a way of detecting infection earlier. So as you're in the hospital and you have a wound, we wanted to figure out how we can use sensor technology to be able to tell the doctor and the patient, you have an infection coming, you should go see a doctor because your wound's not healing well enough. And then we use electrical stimulation as the healing modality there. Once I graduated, I retained a position, a fellow position at Stanford, thinking about AI ethics and policy. But primarily what I'm going to talk to you about is my work at Swaza, where I'm the chief technologist. So before I begin, I'm going to ask you guys to do an exercise. On the count of three, I want you to hold your breath. 1, 2, 3.
What's the question?
Hold your breath. And release. Now, how many of you think that oxygen is important? Raise your hand. Now, everyone should be raising their hand. If you didn't, I'm like, I hope by the end of this, I convince you that it is super important for everything that we do, and we often take it for granted. But it is very much the foundation behind what we're doing at Swaza, where we're engineering revolutionary oxygen therapeutics. So I'm going to walk you through kind of the higher order problem and then talk through the solution we've developed, and then talk a little bit about how we've integrated AI into the development process, and then wrap up with some higher order implications around AI in biology. So the point of us, like what we're tackling at Swaza, is we understand that there's a global unmet medical need in respiratory distress. We know that people during COVID, there was over $1 trillion spent, and we really learned that during COVID that there's really no good solution for oxygen loss. People have trouble breathing. You need to put people on ventilators. Not enough oxygen. Even you guys holding your breath can lead to organ damage, brain damage, and a lot of other things. And mechanical ventilation, the standard of care it's 40% mortality and it causes lung damage. That's not really a good solution for developing or treating this problem. And this problem is only going to get worse because people are aging, pollution is plaguing global cities, and more of these respiratory issues are going to continue to get worse and worse and worse. And we're seeing a lot more damaging information around things of long COVID and a lot of other things. We can kind of name your poison, so to speak. And so what we've developed at Swaza is a nanofluid breathing aid for early intervention for respiratory distress. And so what I'm showing you here is a single dose, a human dose of what we're going to be putting in patients next year to deliver oxygen therapeutics without the need for a ventilator, without the need for any kind of big bulky machine, which I'm really excited about. And the way that this works is what we're really trying to do is anytime you have difficulty breathing, you have this buildup of mucus. Even when you're coughing, you're wheezing, there's stuff in your lungs that you're trying to expel. And what we've developed is these oxygen nanoparticles that are able to break through this barrier and allow for carbon dioxide to be absorbed out of your system and oxygen to be delivered into your system. And so we've known that these superoxygenated fluids can replace air. It's been around since the 1960s that there's a class of these fluids that can be used by mammals to breathe, and actually was developed by the US Navy as part of kind of this submarine related, what if folks who are in submarines are submerged in water, how can we make sure that they don't die? But we really don't want to fill your lungs up with water because we don't really think that drowning isn't the answer. This is not a typical way in which we want to have people get treatment for breathing. And so our team, we've developed through a multidisciplinary approach with chemistry, our AI group, nanotechnology, bioengineering, and medicine, we've been able to develop this nanoparticle, which I talked about earlier, that allows for the shuttling of gases at the lung surface and going through the fibrosis and allowing for this oxygen to work. So instead of me talking about it, I'm going to show you a video that explains it. And hopefully at that point, let's see, let me turn it on.
Liquid nanoparticles.
Play.
Swaza 1 is a breathing aid made of non-toxic liquid nanoparticles. Patients inhale the fluid with a nebulizer, and the liquid nanoparticles spread into the deep lung surface. They dive through barriers inside the inflamed alveolus, delivering oxygen. The particles then absorb carbon dioxide, and when they reach the air-fluid interface, they release the carbon dioxide, absorb oxygen again, enabling dynamic gas exchange in the injured lung. This innovative solution ensures better oxygenation and improvement in respiratory health.
So
We need to use this.
do you need it now or? Okay.
Somebody cannot breathe.
Yeah, exactly. So, one small dose of this can really help folks who are struggling from things like ARDS, COPD, smoke inhalation, anything that deals with a challenge when it comes to breathing. And we're trying to facilitate this component of you don't need a bulky device or a mechanical ventilator or an oxygen tank, and you can still get oxygen to your body that can be delivered. Now, our dose, this one small dose, it is portable and can be stored at room temperature. It works without extra supplemental oxygen equipment, and it just works with air. The particles capture oxygen in the air, diffuse into your lungs, and then can continue working again and again. You just need a nebulizer to put it inside. And the ingredients inside the nanoparticles have prior FDA approval, so they have safety use record for human use. That's something that is allowing us to fast track for FDA approval as well. So, a lot of talk, but here's some data that backs up a lot of the claims that I've talked about. And so what you're seeing here is a single dose of Swaza can increase arterial blood oxygen for up to 24 hours. So what you're seeing here is an injured animal model. And then at the point of respiratory distress, we administer Swaza 1, and the animal's oxygen levels in the arterial blood are able to go back to baseline, even though they are sick. So while the animal is recovering, they're able to have a higher baseline of oxygen in their blood as compared to normal, which we're really excited about, because when you're asking about where this can be used, we're thinking about COPD, interstitial lung disease, respiratory infections, asthma, portable emergency use, smoke, suffocation. There's a lot of ways in which we can kind of have this be used.
When I was young, I got disease here. I cannot breathe. The organs, something.
Yeah. So when you have any kind of injury and they do any kind of tubing of you in the trachea, I think that's what you're referring to. So this would be something that would be a supplemental therapy in addition to that. And so we're really excited because we're going after critical hypoxemia with our initial patient group, but we really think that this can be scaled to COPD, lower respiratory tract infections, and just people with asthma. So over 1 billion people can be potentially impacted with this, since we all breathe, we all hold our breath. We all think that oxygen is important. At least most of you raised your hand in the room. So I think that, with that, we really see that this will help a lot of people. The mean treatment for just thinking about a ventilated patient is $74,000. So we're trying to disrupt that to completely remove the need for ventilation. And we will be in phase 2 in 18 months. So meaning that this phase 1 will go into that next year, and then jumping into phase 2 in 18 months as well. And we have customers. So we're actually a contractor for the federal government. We're developing this for the National Strategic Stockpile as part of the as part of HHS and ASPR. We're a Johnson & Johnson Blue Knight company. We're also part of NATO. So we're doing a lot of work with pandemic preparedness to develop therapeutics that can help people with living longer and being able to prevent breathing complications. Other things that we've developed on this platform include wound healing biomaterials, as well as a thermal reversible enema for allowing for oxygenation that can be delivered through the colon in the case of some severe trauma or distress, as well as Swaza topicals for skin regeneration itself. And a lot of the work that we do ties into, we optimize a lot of our drug development with AI with 3 steps. We use a vector-based drug optimization module, a molecular embedding technology, and fragment-based molecular optimization. All these 3 allow for us to get the best optimal molecules kind of to really drill in on what we think would be like the most optimal formula. So I'm not going to go super into detail on this, but just high level, we use a vector search model to kind of do a drug molecular analysis, and we get a ranked list of functional molecules that are similar that we think are best targets, and then we down select to get the results that we think would be most suitable for whatever disease indication we're going after. And so in part 2 of this, we use a transformer-based graph model that learns the significance of these substructures for these properties, in which we then look at importance between these substructures and optimize this for reduced computational costs. To get to the final stage of our fragment-based optimizer, which uses Markov chain Monte Carlo sampling to iteratively calculate new candidates and looking at fragment-based approaches to find the best docking location for the drugs that we're trying to target. And we tie that in with in silico and in vivo. So we not only are we modeling in silico, but we do in vivo testing, and we continuously loop to make sure that our animal data is tied into the data sets that we are integrating. From that, we got another hit that we're going after soon, Swaza for lung cancer. So as part of finding optimal targets for breathing, we think that this can also be used for lung cancer as well. We're really excited about that, as well as other applications such as nuclear and chemical drug repurposing, novel threat identification for pre-pandemic response, as well as longevity medicines. There's a very interesting space in that right now. But more broadly, I wanted to jump into just kind of tell you a little bit more about kind of the areas that excitement for AI research that I have right now that I'm seeing as part of my fellowship at Stanford that we're really excited about that build on this. And there's a lot of work. This is my last slide, by the way. So we'll be wrapping up. So these are frontiers and trends that I'm excited about. There's rapid drug iteration and optimization with faster and cheaper models. There's the whole debate about open source versus closed source. And I think that'll be an interesting solution, an interesting space to see who will win in that space. There's a big area of research happening right now on the academic side around validation after deployment of your AI model in clinical settings. So once you deploy your model in clinical settings, how do you make sure that the model isn't hallucinating data in order to retain high performance? Making sure that you're not, that you are, in fact, the model is accurately taking in the new data and not creating hallucinations or effects that are not there. There's another thing around social science and in silico modeling. And so there's this whole area of like social science used to be done where you're doing in-person iterative interviews only. And the idea with social science in silico is you can use AI agents to model human behavior to try to see if you can dissect what is happening with decisions that are made. Another thing that's super interesting is biodefense simulations for risk assessment. Again, this is using AI agents. You create personas and you model what can go wrong in a nuclear war, for example. And you can kind of think about the stakeholders there and what types of policies you would need to put in place for that. And then the last one that I think is questionable but interesting is this idea of a vaccine for aging. This concept of whether or not AI can actually solve this. There's a whole school of thought that people think you can live to be 200, 300. I don't think that's possible just yet, but there's an interesting area around the work around aging. If aging is a disease, inherently you can cure it. If it's curable, there's a vaccine for it, and so forth. Can AI be something that can help us do that because of the vast amounts of data we're processing and so forth? So that's all I had to talk to you guys about. If you want to learn more about what we're working on Swaza, here's a QR code, but wanted to keep it super brief so that way I'm not, we can get back to mingling and having the social components for today's event.
Anyone have questions? Thanks.
Okay, I have two questions.
Sure.
One is, can this be used for other drugs, not just oxygen? And secondly, don't you think athletes would jump at this?
Yeah, great question. So the first part about drug repurposing or kind of loading up payloads. So that is one thing that we're actually looking at. We wanted to have Swaza be oxygen be our payload. That is the single biggest molecule that has the biggest impact. It can have regenerative capacity for regenerating your tissue, like wound healing. If you are in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber, you can have your tissue heal faster. Same with topical creams and breathing through your colon and such. All of those rely on just oxygen. But as a payload, we can load other things into that in terms of delivery. That's actually what we're doing with the topicals approach. We have a few peptides and things that we've loaded in that we're partnering with a large cosmetics company who wants to move that forward. With respect to athletes, yes, there's a whole performance enhancement group that's super keen on this, particularly around improving human performance as well. Great question. Yeah, and the red.
Yeah, so you had your graph about, I think, how long it might last or in your system or something, but it was from a viewpoint of a patient. Like, would they just like do one session with it for 15 minutes, an hour? How long would that last? Do they do it every 4 hours? What's kind of from the patient's perspective, what is their interface with this?
Yeah, great question. So from a patient kind of usability perspective, the normal user who was at home having an oxygen tank, instead of having your, as soon as you need oxygen, you put your mask on, you breathe it in, and then you have, 2 hours or so before you have to do another administration. This will be a once a day administration type of thing, because the mode of mechanism of removal out of your body is exhalation. The particles do not absorb into your body in terms of they don't want to stay in your body. They want to do the work and leave. And so what I showed you as a graph was in animal models of one dose elevated blood gases for 24 hours. And so for translating that into humans, it would be a single dose for someone who's at home. Now, chronically ill people who are in the hospital on ventilators, this would be an additive therapy to whatever the method of administration is for that doctor. So
you had your video that showed that cycle back and
Yeah,
forth.
exactly.
I was just curious how long that stayed active, how fast.
Exactly. So 24 hours is what we're seeing, what we are working off of as our baseline.
Okay.
In terms of just one inhalation with that. Yeah. You were next, right? And then, okay, the guy in the plaque, and then we'll go left.
Yeah, a couple questions.
Sure.
Have you tried, are you using AlphaFold in your pipeline?
For the modeling component,
Yeah,
a part of it, not all of it.
okay.
Yeah.
And the other question was, have you experimented with genetic algorithms that like?
Say more. What kind of genetic algorithms we're talking?
So I saw use of markup genes in there. Genetic algorithms I consider to be somewhat similar, but they work with a population of solutions and read those solutions.
Yeah. So what I showed there is kind of how we structure the base model. It's more of a, how should I say this? It's like instead of taking the ChatGPT approach of having you predict a word and then predict the next word based on the probabilities, we're predicting sentence by sentence prediction. So taking a 30,000 foot view instead of a ground level view to be able to do it. So the compute that we talk about, we're able to do it at 10x reduced costs and like much faster. You can run it on your MacBook, for example, and I don't need to take a big cluster compute to do it because the predictions on a sentence-based level instead of a word-based level, if that makes sense. Sure. I think the mic's for the audio people, on online people.
Yeah, it's really-
Hey, we can hear you.
So first question, why you call it Swaza?
Great. So Swaza is means breath in Sanskrit. So the word Swaza is, we're talking about air, breathing, breath, Swaza. Our co-founder, Jay Rajadas, he came up with the word as part of just like wanting to have meaning, the word having meaning.
Second question, by understanding that everything in the brain. So I'm assuming that you need to understand how the brain works to a certain extent to fix these kind of issues. Correct?
Say more. What are we talking here? Like in terms of simulating breathing, or what are we talking?
For example, breathing, or somebody has problem like me, I can have to open a hole here.
Yeah.
I can't breathe. So fixing this problem doesn't need or require understanding how the brain works.
That's a whole, like, we can have an hour-long conversation about the brain. Like for us, we're really focusing on the lungs, and assuming that a body is able to function and the lungs are able to function, this can be a therapeutic that will help capacity.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
That's what you FDA approved. Yeah.
We're working on that. So the products that we repurposed have prior FDA approval, and we are, as part of our government contract, we have FDA consultants that are free of charge for us that work with us on our process. So we have had our first meeting with the FDA, and we're going through an accelerated roadmap to get it into approval stages.
Will it be available for you or through like some?
Depends. We'll like, that we're talking what, 5 years out for that type of thing. So a lot can change from now until 5 years from now. Maybe the world will be in a nuclear war and we'll need this for something else in that capacity. I don't know, but at that point we will work with people who will be able to kind of help us scale it up. Sure.
Okay, I think you already answered the first question I had. The second question I had is, has a human in distress have had any experience with this medication yet? Device yet?
So we model a lot of the work based on our animal work, and the animals are in distress when they have this, when they're administered this drug. So they are in respiratory distress, they have trouble breathing, and so at the administration of the drug, even though they still have distress symptoms, they're able to raise their arterial blood oxygen back to baseline. But we haven't done like human testing because our plan is phase one next year. So healthy subjects will be taking this as part of our phase one testing, and then we'll go into sick patients after.
So once you have a phase one study, you then would have human experience.
Yes, correct.
I'd be very interested in hearing what they have to say. They probably have some very compelling stories to tell.
Yeah. So, and again, this was a repurposed drug. It was a blood substitute that was actually put in patients, and we repurposed the technology to have it be nanoparticle size and stable at room temperature, so you can breathe it in and not need liters of it inside your body. Just a small amount can do the same work. Cool. Yes.
So how do you make that?
A lot of chemistry. Yes, a lot of
Big
chemistry.
vats is-
We work with manufacturers that help scale it up, but it's any chemists in the room, or are we all computer scientists? All right, well, any aspiring chemists, this is a lot of chemistry related work here that goes into manufacture it, and we have folks who help us scale it up as well. Yeah. So yeah, anyway, I hope I gave you a flavor of AI applications in biology today. One question. Yes.
Yeah, so you mentioned athletics earlier. So I've done some stuff in the past with, I've been in wearables for a long time with little sensors, using smart wounds, things like that. So I do have interest in that area. And so I'm a little bit curious from the viewpoint of how would this work on some healthy lungs with an athlete? I mean, you mentioned earlier, because I've worked with other things like blood lactate sensors, blood glucose, things like that for athletic performance. So I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, so if you're healthy, and we have a typical standing baseline for oxygenation as an athlete, you'll have your like, say you're actively running and you have a certain amount of oxygen that is leaving your system and then you're going to hyperventilation. This will not over-oxygenate you. You're always kind of reverting back to baseline, but it would help with allowing for not only the oxygenation to have a baseline, but also repair. Again, oxygen as a molecule for repair. This, a lot of data I didn't show, but we have the molecule itself increases different genes in your body that allow for regenerative capacities.
But that's
So
after.
during and after would be kind of like a paradigm for that. But again, we're going after the sickest people who have no other treatment, no other option other than a straight up tube into their mouth, and then they just have to be on a ventilator. So
In
we're
the
like,
future, there's always like secondary use.
totally. No, all the longevity enthusiasts are coming up to us and like, give this to us for us to be able to run faster, do cool things faster. I'm like, guys, I cannot do it right now, but once it's on the market, you're welcome to try an off-label use in any capacity. Okay, well, again, thank you for listening to my spiel about AI and biology. If there's any other questions, feel free to ask. And I don't know what I'm passing the mic back over to you.
Thank you, Artem. Round of applause, everyone. That was great. All right, everyone remote, happy holidays. Thank you for attending. We will see you again in the new year. And for everyone who is here, let's party. Cue the music.